opposing counsel? Which was, excuse me, about the time that the sunset was, the time Parker Page left camp.
Okay, I mean, ask your foundational question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Sir, how many miles is it to get from the campsites to the overlook on your trail, the Lacron Loop?
Well, from the start of the trail to the overlook is 3 miles. So from the campsite, it's a little bit longer than that.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
All right. Does that prompt you to recross?
No recross, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
May the defense call our next witness?
Yes.
The defense calls Dr. Ezra Lopez to the stand.
All right, Dr. Lopez.
May I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Will you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hello, my name is Ezra Lopez.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a forensic pathologist. I work for a consulting firm here in Midlands.
Where did you go to school?
I first studied biomedical and health sciences at Purdue University, but I then earned my MD from Emory University Medical School. I've been practicing as a forensic pathologist since then.
Doctor, what's forensic pathology?
I like to think about a forensic pathologist like a medical detective. It's our job to look at evidence to determine the manner, cause, and time of death.
Can you describe your experience in the field of forensic pathology?
Most notably, for over 2 decades, I served as the chief medical examiner in Midlands. In my time there, I was involved in over 3,000 autopsies and investigations.
Why did you leave?
One of my employees missed a key detail in an autopsy. I caught it, I reprimanded him, but it blew up in the news and I was asked to resign. That's when I realized the importance of having an outside look at an autopsy, and that's when I opened my consulting firm.
So doctor, how are you involved in this case?
I've been retained by Jordan Ryder's legal team. They've asked me to take a look at the findings of the state's medical examiner, Dr. Quincy.
What materials did you review?
In addition to Dr. Quincy's autopsy report, I was also given access to several exhibits, Ms. Page's complete medical history, and a few items that Dr. Quincy had access to.
How did you analyze Dr. Quincy's findings?
I conducted an audit of her analysis.
How did you organize this audit?
Well, first, I read through Dr. Quincy's findings and compared that to the facts of today's case to see if there was anything important that she didn't account for. Then, I went back and determined how any missing details might have changed her analysis.
Do medical examiners and forensic pathologists like yourself audit other people's work?
Yes, it's the standard method for reviewing another professional's analysis.
Did you have enough information to make conclusions about Dr. Quincy's analysis?
Yes, I had everything I needed.
Doctor, you told us that you looked for any missing information in Dr. Quincy's report. Did you find any?
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of foundation. May I be heard?
Yes.
Your Honor, Dr. Lopez has simply testified that he has an audit and he looks for missing pieces. We've heard very little foundation as to specifically how this method works and if there are any standards he compares the autopsy to, what those were. We've heard almost no foundation as to how the method specifically works.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor, we actually have laid that foundation. I asked Dr. Lopez how he organized his audit. I asked him if forensic pathologists like himself generally rely upon audits. He told the members of the jury that the audit that he ran was standard in his field, that he compared what he found in Dr. Quincy's autopsy to what he knows as a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist. Under Rule 702C, we laid the foundation for a for a sufficient method.
May I respond?
Yes.
Your Honor, simply saying there's an audit and vaguely saying how that may have worked without giving any details for the jury is not enough foundation for him to delve into our conclusions. We have almost no idea as to how he concluded what he did about what we believe is going to be Parker's time and manner of death.
Sounds like an excellent avenue for cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Sir, did you find any missing information in Dr. Quincy's report?
I believe so. In Ms. Page's medical history, it notes that she was diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta, also known as OI. Dr. Quincy mentioned this once in her report, but she never factored it into her analysis.
Have you worked with patients with OI before?
Yes, between medical school and my time in the examiner's office, I've worked with and studied the disease before.
Doctor, what is OI?
OI is a genetic defect. It causes the connective tissues in our bones and lungs to be underdeveloped. Common symptoms include respiratory issues and fragile bones that break more easily.
So how would considering Parker Page's OI change Dr. Quincy's analysis?
I believe that it might change two things. First, Ms. Page's time of death, and second, her cause of death.
Let's take those one at a time, first starting with time of death. How do you determine a person's time of death?
We use a standard heat loss formula.
How does this heat loss formula work?
When somebody dies, their body begins to cool. We can measure how much heat has left the body to determine the amount of time since death. Generally speaking, the human body runs at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit and loses that heat at a standard rate. We typically use these average numbers in our analysis.
Did Dr. Quincy use these average numbers for Parker Page?
Yes, but I don't believe they would adequately describe Miss Page.
Why not?
It comes back to her OI. Miss Page's skin, bones, and connective tissues were all more thin, which would cause her to lose heat at an accelerated rate. You can think about this like the difference between a cup of coffee in a thermos and a cup of coffee in a thin paper cup. The coffee in the paper cup is probably going to cool down faster, similar to Miss Page.
So how would considering OI change calculations about Ms. Page's time of death?
When you account for Miss Page's OI, that brings her time of death substantially later than what Dr. Quincy concluded. It's possible that she died as late as 8 or 9 p.m.
All right, doctor, let's move on to that second factor, cause of death. How could OI affect that?
OI means that Parker was more likely to suffer from an accident. In fact, accidental falls are the most common cause of death in patients with OI.
Why do people with OI suffer from accidental falls?
Patients with OI, their lungs have trouble absorbing oxygen. As a result of that, their entire body, including their brain, is more likely to suffer from oxygen deprivation. If that were to happen, they could become dizzy, disoriented, and lose their balance.
Did you find evidence that Parker suffered from oxygen deprivation?
Yes, it's certainly possible. In addition to suffering from OI, Parker had also been diagnosed with asthma. In the months leading up to her death, she had been diagnosed with pneumonia and bronchitis as well. It was clear that Miss Page had respiratory troubles, and they only seemed to be getting worse.
How might these respiratory issues have affected Parker Page on July 14th?
On July 14th, Ms. Page was hiking several miles. Her lungs might not have been able to keep up with her pace. If that were the case, it's very likely that she would become disoriented, which makes it possible that she could lose her balance and fall, accidentally.
Were Parker Page's injuries consistent with an accidental fall?
Yes, every single one of Parker's injuries were consistent with an accident. Dr. Quincy even noted this in her autopsy report.
Why did Dr. Quincy determine Parker Page's death a homicide?
Dr. Quincy found an injury on Miss Page's left shoulder. She took this to mean that Miss Page had been hit with a hiking staff.
Did you agree with Dr. Quincy's analysis of that shoulder injury?
No. While it's certainly possible, there just isn't enough evidence to conclude definitively what happened to Parker. You see, patients with OI get injured much more easily. If walking up to the stand today I stubbed my toe on this corner, It might hurt, but it probably wouldn't leave a mark. For someone with OI, that same minor impact could leave a bruise or even a break. There just isn't enough evidence for us to show that Parker ever sustained substantial trauma.
So given all of this, Dr. Lopez, were you able to come to any conclusions about Dr. Quincy's findings?
Yes, I don't believe that Dr. Quincy adequately accounted for Parker Page's medical history. When you take into account her OI, it becomes much more likely that Parker first died later than what Dr. Quincy concluded, and second, died as the result of an accident.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Dr. Quincy. I want to talk about why you're in court today, all right?
Sure.
Sir, you told us on direct examination you disagreed with many of Dr. Quincy's conclusions, right?
Yes, I don't think there's enough evidence for us to make as strong of conclusions as she did.
Now, Dr. Quincy, she's the chief medical examiner for Midlands, right?
Yes,
Sir, it's true. You're actually not a huge fan of the Midlands Coroner's Office, are you?
I wouldn't agree with that.
Well, Dr. Quincy has your old job, right?
Yes, like I explained before, I was asked to resign after a news scandal.
She has your old job because you were fired, right, sir?
Yes,
And now you're testifying against the person who has the job you were fired from, right?
no, I'm not testifying against her. I'm just telling you what I found.
Well, sir, you are being paid for your testimony, right?
Of course, my firm bills for my time.
That's $40,000 in total, right, sir?
Yes,
You talked a little bit about why you were let go from the Midlands Coroner's Office, but I want to talk about some of the details you left out, all right? Now, when you worked at the Midlands Coroner's Office, you oversaw a lot of autopsies, right?
yes,
Some of those were in homicide cases, correct?
yes,
Doctor, in one of those homicide cases in particular, like you said, your staff made a pretty big mistake, correct?
that's true.
But when you found out about that mistake, you didn't tell anyone about it?
That's not true. I reprimanded the employee that made the mistake. I assumed that they would fix their error, but I'm not sure if they did.
Sir, you just assumed they'd fix an error in an autopsy in a homicide case?
I reprimanded the employee. I told them what they did wrong.
Sir, you were the chief medical examiner, right?
Yes,
As the chief medical examiner, you didn't go in and correct that error in a homicide autopsy?
no, that would be very improper for another coroner to come in and take over a case like that.
Well, sir, you're saying it would be improper, but a couple years down the road, that error became a big problem, right?
Yes, I don't think that my employee ended up fixing their mistake. It caused a problem in the trial, and it blew up in the news.
Sir, you say it caused a problem in the trial. The defendant in the underlying case was actually wrongfully convicted because of that mistake, right?
I'm not sure if they were wrongfully convicted, but they were granted habeas relief.
Exactly, sir. Because of the error you chose not to correct. Isn't that true?
Sir, I wasn't able to correct it. I didn't have the power to go and take over another coroner's case.
Well, now, I want to talk about some of the limitations of your conclusions, all right?
Sure.
Sir, you told us on your direct examination that Dr. Quincy didn't consider Parker Page's OI. Did I get that right?
That's right. I don't believe that she did.
You told her that could make her time of death substantially later.
Yes, that's certainly possible.
You said it could have been as late as 8 or 9 p.m., sir?
Yes,
I want to be very clear. You actually believe Dr. Quincy used the appropriate methods and the appropriate analysis. Isn't that true?
yes, she used the right methods and analysis, but she didn't include Miss Page's OI.
That's a yes, sir. She used the correct methods and correct analysis. True?
Yes,
And the time frame you gave us on direct examination of 8 to 9 p.m., that's not the most likely scenario, is it?
no, it's not the most likely, but it's certainly possible.
In fact, it is most likely Parker Page died between 4 and 6 p.m. Isn't that true?
Yes,
That's what Dr. Quincy found, right?
yes, her conclusion is certainly possible. It's just not the only explanation.
Sir, it's not just possible, it's the most likely in your own opinion, right?
Yes,
You also disagreed with some of Dr. Quincy's conclusions regarding cause of death, right?
I did.
You told us that Parker could have had respiratory troubles, right?
That's true.
You told us that could have caused oxygen deprivation, right?
Yes.
And that could have led to an accidental death. That's what you said, sir?
Yes.
I want to be very clear. You didn't do the autopsy, right?
No, I got involved in this case long after Miss Page had been buried.
Sir, you never saw the body, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see the body, even though that would have been ideal for you, right?
Sure, it would have been ideal.
You talked a lot about Parker's asthma and her respiratory condition. Sir, you never examined her lungs, isn't that true?
No, I just relied on the information that Dr. Quincy observed.
So you didn't examine her lungs, right?
No, I didn't.
In fact, sir, you did not see a single photograph of Parker Page's body, right?
No, I didn't. I just had her medical history.
So no photographs, sir?
No photographs.
So you made your conclusions about this case without looking at a single photograph of a single injury from her body, isn't that true?
That's true, but none were available.
I want to talk about what you do know about the bruise Parker suffered on her thigh, all right, sir?
Sure.
So you know the location and the shape and the size